As we welcome you back, no other way to say it. It is a beautiful day in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We check in downstairs with Melanie Collins. Melanie.
Thank you, Greg. Well, it is deja vu for the Buffalo Bills today as they play their second of back-to-back games here at MetLife Stadium. Now, this is a very unique situation. Other than being in a different visiting team locker room, everything else has stayed the exact same for the Bills. They stayed in the same team hotel last night in the exact same rooms. They were even able to leave the majority of their equipment here at the stadium this week. Sean McDermott told us he wore the same tie for the flight over. And Josh Allen last night, when we asked him if he's superstitious, he quoted The Office saying, "I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious." It feels like we're coming home, Greg.
Melanie, you're right. It was a little spooky. It was spooky to hear them say they were in the exact same hotel rooms that they were in a week ago.
Each of the players that kept coming in, they said, "This is weird. I have the same room. This is weird." So then we looked to the end of the table at the staff, and we're like, "Yeah, that wasn't a secret."
Buffalo has won the toss, and they will defer, which means that they will kick it away to the New York Giants. Corey Ballentine is deep for the Giants as we get things started here in MetLife Stadium.
But of course, they say there is no superstition. It just that's the way it worked out.
Sometimes it's just good fortune.
Yes.
Here we go. Ballentine will let that one bounce into the end zone. Could have fielded it at the goal line, but it'll be a touchback. So onto the field comes the Giants offense and Eli Manning. As you mentioned, good numbers last week against Dallas, but it had its limitations.
It did, and when you think about the opening drive a week ago, they went right down the field. They stopped the Cowboys, made them punt. Their opening drive, they work all the way down the field. They jump up 7-0, and then that's when things fell apart. So let's see if they can start this game off as hot as they did a week ago.
26, Saquon Barkley in the backfield behind Manning as the Giants start from the 25, and the give is to Barkley, and Barkley bulls his way across the 30 out to about the 32-yard line. Looks like a pickup of about 7 or so. Giants spent the offseason refurbishing that offensive line, bringing in veterans like Kevin Zeitler, Mike Remmers, and Saquon Barkley, as we mentioned. A good day at Dallas last week. 120 yards rushing. Tight end Evan Ingram, 110 yards receiving, and a touchdown.
Well, if that's how the offensive line is going to perform throughout the day, then the advantage goes to the Giants. That was the thing at the start of this program that I said. That was the matchup I was looking for. They pushed the pile on first down.
They'll give it to Benny Fowler, and Fowler turns the corner. 45, midfield. They'll mark him down at about the 49-yard line of the Buffalo Bills. It's a first down for the Giants.
He's coming in motion from a wing position, and it looks like they're faking it to Saquon up the middle, but then they get Fowler around the edge, and it catches the Buffalo defense collapsed on the inside, able to pick up the big gain, getting into Buffalo territory.
Pickup of 20, first down. This is Barkley, left side, running room. First down yardage and out of bounds at about the 35. The young man runs with a purpose.
2 out of 3 plays go to Saquon Barkley. I think that they heard the grumblings this week about him not getting enough touches. And second down was a fake to Barkley and getting around the edge. Excellent blocking at the point of attack on the outside.
Every defender that we talk to at the Buffalo Bills says you just watch him on film and you have a great deal of respect for what he's going to bring. Play clock running down. They got the snap off. They give it to Barkley, and Barkley inside the 30 to about the 27-yard line. Buffalo's defense had 4 sacks last week. Veteran Jerry Hughes had 1.5. And among the linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds, a tackling machine. He led the Bills last year in the formidable safety duo of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde anchor the secondary. Barkley again. Barkley, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Giants.
The Bills that time had 8 defenders at or near the line of scrimmage. Barkley with his vision. This play is supposed to go inside. Look at all these defenders inside. He takes it initially, and then he bounces it to the outside. So the defense all gets trapped to the inside. Look at the wall, and then all of a sudden it's just one-on-one in the open field. You give the advantage to Barkley every time on that.
5 offensive plays, all on the ground for 75 yards, and the extra point is good. So the New York Giants take the opening kick, and they make a statement. You're going to have to stop Barkley if you're going to stop the Giants today. 7-0 New York. We're back after this. The Buffalo Bills surrendered 68 rushing yards to the New York Jets a week ago. The Giants racked up 75 on their opening drive and lead it 7-0. 55 of those belonging to the young man out of Penn State.
Well, talking to Jerry Hughes and Jordan Poyer last night, watching film of Saquon Barkley, they said, listen, we got to gang tackle him. We've got to get everybody around him. We can't give him any free space. And unfortunately for the Bills, that was the case on that opening drive. Lots of space for Saquon Barkley to run.
On the touchback, that means the Bills will start from their own 25, and that means Josh Allen, second-year quarterback out of Wyoming, strong-armed, 254 yards last week throwing the ball against the New York Jets. Had a share of turnovers.
Did a better job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly a year ago, held on to the ball a little bit too long. Got the ball out quickly with precision. His third highest completion percentage was in last week's game.
Frank Gore starts in the backfield, gets the handoff. And we'll get about 3 out to about the 28-yard line. Buffalo's offensive line, very young, fifth-year center Mitch Morse is in the middle of it. And Trent, you mentioned earlier, wide receiver John Brown made his presence felt last week. 7 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown.
Well, this entire offense is new, really, Greg. You took 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. John Brown, you just mentioned. Cole Beasley came over. The tight ends are all new. Lee Smith was with the Bills before, but he's been gone for a few years. They brought him back, so a lot of new faces on offense.
Speaking of new faces, the rookie running back Devin Singletary is in the backfield on 2nd and 7. Allen to throw. Running out of time. And going down at about the 21-yard line. Marcus Golden, Lorenzo Carter.
Well, Greg,
at the quarterback.
Well, Greg, just when I gave him credit for a week ago getting the ball out of his hands quickly, this time he hangs on to it too long, and I think he was trying to get the big play. He had the open receiver in the flat. You're only going to get a 2 or 3 yard gain, but sometimes it's better to just go ahead and take that, especially on first down or second down, especially when you can get a chance where you're going to give yourself manageable third down. Instead, you hang on to it a long time, trying to push it up the field. Now you're forcing yourself into a 3rd and long.
First sack of the season for the Giants defense. 3rd and 13. Allen takes the short one this time, and this is Gore out of the backfield. He will get nowhere near first down yardage, and Buffalo will have to kick it away. Alec Ogletree making the play.
And some of that's just experience. Just understanding, hey, it's early in the game. The Giants just put together this long drive. Let's give our defense a break. Let's just get some first downs. Let's come out. Don't look for all the big plays. And I thought that time Josh Allen held on to it just a little bit too long, trying to push it up the field. He was trying to look at his tight end on a deep corner route. Take the flat, set yourself up for a manageable 3rd down.
Corey Bjorquez gets off a heck of a kick, and it will float out of bounds somewhere. Let's see where they mark it. It'll be marked out of bounds at about the 34-yard line or so. And a little face-to-face action on the sideline is quickly broken up. 10:22 to play in the first quarter. And Saquon Barkley and the offense back on the field after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pepsi. Always be celebrating. Experian. Raise your credit scores instantly with Experian Boost. And by Buffalo Wild Wings. Eat, drink, and breathe football and wings.
You know, in honor of its 100th season, the NFL is encouraging fans to join players, teams, and the NFL family in a year-long volunteer initiative called Huddle for 100. Choose a cause, volunteer 100 minutes of your time, and help shape what your community will look like for the next 100 years. Visit NFL.com/huddle for 100 to track your minutes and get rewarded. And earlier this year, the Giants partnered with My Sister's Place, a nonprofit providing support to victims of domestic violence and human trafficking throughout the Northeast, to pack up more than 1,000 bags of much-needed donations. 7-0 Giants. They have the football and start at their own 30-yard line. Barkley dancing his way to about the 35. I assume, Trent, it's like you keep going until the Bills prove that they can stop it, right?
This play makes no sense. They're pulling the guard and the backside tight end. It's supposed to be a counter run to the left side of the field. When the ball's handed off, there's nothing there, so he starts going to the right, but then he stops and cuts back to left.
Did you say he's been watching Barry Sanders?
It's been a lot of stop and starts. So Barry Sanders, Le'Veon Bell, it's
Manning
a little bit of everything.
For the first time and overthrew his intended receiver. That was Evan Engram. So it'll be 3rd and 5.
Greg, you just caught me up here shaking my head after the Saquon run on first down. But this ball's just a little bit high. You can see coverage is tight, but that's a ball that you can get in there. Needs to be completed.
3rd and 5. Wayne Gallman is in the backfield with Manning while Barkley takes a rest on the sideline. A little movement on the offensive line. This will be going against the Giants. Sean Smith, our referee today.
False start, offense, number 80. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Let's check in with Melanie.
Greg, after that first drive, Sean McDermott came over to the linebackers, Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, and Lorenzo Alexander. He said, hey, you guys, we're okay. Gap integrity, and everybody do your job. We're good. There was no panic down here on the bench from the Bills defense.
All right, Melanie, thank you. So now it's a 3rd and 10 for Manning. Eli throwing, incomplete, out at about the 45-yard line. Cody Latimer, his intended receiver, and the Giants will have to kick it away.
Well, the Bills, most of the time when the Bills stack their line of scrimmage with 7 or 8 defenders, they're going to end up rushing 4, causing confusion, and then dropping into coverage. That time they ended up rushing 6 and going man-to-man coverage. We saw Eli as he was trying to slide to buy himself some time back to the left and get that ball to the outside, but good coverage by the Bills downfield.
Giants did not do a good job on 3rd down last week, going 2 for 11. Riley Dixon kicks it away toward Micah Hyde, and Hyde at the 25-yard line and not much further than that. Giants covering the punt well. Cody Core making the special teams tackle. Buffalo's Bills. New York Giants. 7-0 New York.
Come on!
9:29 to play, first quarter. Giants 7-0 lead Buffalo from its own 25-yard line. And Frank Gore behind Josh Allen. Gore trying to turn the corner and does before he's wrestled out of bounds. Looks like just short of the 30-yard line by Alec Ogletree. Look at the Giants' 3-4 defense. First-round draft pick Dexter Lawrence holds down one defensive end spot. And Alec Ogletree, whom you just saw, the leader at linebacker, 5 interceptions by him last season. And the secondary has Janoris Jenkins on one corner and the rookie DeAndre Baker on the other. Gore picked up 6, 2nd and 4. Play fake this time. Allen throws, and that's complete across the 35. Goes tight end Lee Smith, and a Buffalo first down.
You see the difference on that, Greg? You see how he was decisive with his decision, decisive with his throw. Came off of the play fake, looked up Smith over the ball. It was excellent coverage. Excellent coverage. Good job by Smith securing the football and getting the first down.
I'm guessing pretty important in your mind that Josh Allen get off to a good start considering the start he had last week against the Jets.
I think it is, and I think a lot of it is the quick decision making. Get first downs, try and get the ball moving. And when the big plays will be there, you got to take your time and don't force them.
Allen under pressure, eludes the rush, on the move, and is forced out of bounds just as he crosses the 40-yard line by Lorenzo Carter. Remember, this is a quarterback who can run the football, 631 yards rushing with 8 rushing touchdowns last season.
Well, this is a part of his game, and I don't think the coaching staff wants to take this out of his game, but you also have to be smart. And watch the stiff arm he gets here to Carter. I don't know if they're going to want their quarterback doing a lot of that. If you look at the last week's game, he had 10 carries for 38 yards, but he had a lot of big hits that he took. It's smart. I understand the athleticism. You want to use your feet, but you also have to make sure you're taking care of your body because it's a long season.
On 2nd and 5, they'll call on Gore, left side, and that one dragged down from behind just about at the line of scrimmage. Let's get an update from New York. Guys?
Eckler excellence continues.
Yes, Austin Eckler, 1-yard touchdown run here. Also the 35-yard reception. He's got 4 touchdowns already on the year. Detroit is losing to the Chargers 7-0.
Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins.
All right, guys, thank you. A week ago, Trent, we saw Austin Eckler almost single-handedly lasso the Indianapolis Colts. Here's a 3rd and 4, and Singletary, the rookie, in the backfield with Allen. Over the middle, and a great grab by Cole Beasley for the first down.
Allen and Beasley have quickly connected on these underneath routes, these inside short throws. Beasley with an excellent catch as he extends.
That ball was by him.
It was past his body. So talking to Allen about his relationship with John Brown and Cole Beasley, he said, listen, we've spent a lot of time on the field, but in the meeting rooms and watching tape together so that we can try and get on the same page as quickly as possible.
Nice fake by Allen. Wide open inside the 30 to the 25 to the 21-yard line. Isaiah McKenzie. Boy, it looked like the entire Giant defense followed the play fake.
It's a hard play fake, and they're clearing out down the middle of the field. And McKenzie's going to be working from right to left.
Now 5 wide receivers on first down. Buffalo at the New York 22. Quick pass to the flat. This is Patrick DeMarco. And DeMarco steps out of bounds on the far side of the field, just inside the 20-yard line.
Well, we talked at the top about what does John Brown bring. Yes, last week he had the 7 catches, 123 yards, but on the last play, it's that speed. His speed cleared things out that allowed McKenzie to get into that second level and create the big pass play, the big chunk to get them down near the red zone. And, of course, after that completion, now they are inside the 20.
2nd and 7. The Bills down a touchdown, looking for the game-tying TD. Gore alongside Allen, gets the handoff. 15 to about the 11. And that's enough for a first down. You know, we noticed too, Trent, this is a pretty confident Buffalo team. They're no longer anyone's pushover.
And they should be, rightfully so, when you consider statistically what they did on the defensive side of the ball last year and, of course, in week 1. And then offensively, there's so many new faces that I think that attitude will change quickly.
Allen on the move inside the 10 to about the 6, where Ogletree again is in on the tackle for the Giants. So from the 6-yard line, Buffalo's looking at a 2nd and 5. 5 yards for a first down, 6 for the touchdown.
Well, in a trend you like to see with the Buffalo offense, or that we've seen with the Buffalo offense over Josh Allen's time here running it, is they like to get him out in space, make him a dual threat guy. Yeah, they want to throw the ball, but if it's not there, they give him the option of running. So don't be surprised if he gets outside the pocket.
Play clock winding down in a hurry on Allen. He's going to keep it. Turn the corner, looking for the end zone, and he gets to the end zone for the touchdown. Josh Allen all the way.
Yeah, that was a quarterback sweep. They did it a week ago. You're going to see it's all sealed here. It's just going to be a sweep around the end. It's a real simple concept. You run a wide trips to the left side of the field. You get the defense to favor that side of the field, and then you get your bodies to seal the edge. How about Frank Gore?
You know, we say that every time we see him play, don't you?
He just loves football. I mean, this guy's been playing so long. He's the 4th leading rusher in NFL history. He's moving up the charts in the rushing category. And guess what? You're going to come inside the 10 and be the lead blocker and get him in the end zone. And you know what? He loves it. He loves the fact that he's still playing and really enjoys the game still.
Stephen Hauschka for the extra point. And that is good. 3:43 remaining here in the first quarter, which sees the Bills come back and tie things up. We're even at 7, and we're back after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. And by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
The Hoboken Fire Department Museum, located in a former 19th century firehouse with old school fire trucks on display. How about that photos including Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig? 7-7 tie, 3:43 to play here in the first. Corey Ballantyne deep again for the Giants. This one will be taken about 2 yards deep into the end zone, and here comes Ballantyne. Ballantyne hit at about the 20, falls forward, and we go back to Melanie.
Well, with the 18th anniversary of the September 11th attacks falling on Wednesday of this week, the Giants' offensive line decided to head into the city and pay a visit to Engine 3, Ladder 12, Battalion 7, and spend some time with the brave firefighters who protect this city. Mike Remmers got into full gear, and John Halapio got some lessons with the hose. A nice way to remember the lives lost and pay their respects to the protectors of the city.
A nice way indeed, Melanie. Thank you. The Giants from their own 22.
118.
Barkley dodges a tackler in the backfield and got himself a yard. Harrison Phillips making the stop. We kind of smiled when he was telling us the story, Trent, about watching Barry Sanders. He's got a little Barry Sanders in him.
He does. Some of that stop-start, some of the wiggle, the misdirection. He's his own unique style, though. I don't want to just say he's trying to be Barry Sanders, because if you look at some of the explosive runs and stuff that he's had, it's for a young player, he's multi-dimensional.
118.
On 2nd and 9, and Manning just saw that play not happening and just threw it into the dirt. It's incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 9. Giants with no passing yards yet today, but 81 rushing yards.
Well, they're not doing themselves any favor here being in 3rd and long. Falls right into what the Bills are trying to do defensively. Usually at this down and distance, they'll stack, cause some confusion, but right now giving them a 2-shell.
So 3rd and 9, and Manning needs the 32-yard line for a first down.
118.
Manning to the side of the field, in and out of the arms of the intended receiver, Benny Fowler, and that will force the punt. And Trent, you'd have to say the Bills have withstood the opening punch by the Giants really well.
Well, they have, and when you consider what the Giants did their opening drive, they didn't pass the ball one time. It was all runs, and then now the last 2 series, they're 0 for 4 in pass attempts. I don't know. You're getting away from what's working, and now this is their second possession punting. So
Micah Hyde stands back at his own 27-yard line.
And some of that's the adjustment that the defense has made as well. They're not giving the big lanes for Saquon on those run attempts that he did have.
Here's Hyde. Brought down at about the 30-yard line. So we'll take a break here, and we're back in half a minute after this from Progressive Insurance. It's a 53-yard punt by Riley Dixon and a 6-yard return. Look at Eli Manning there on the bench. He is 0 for 4 throwing the football as you look at the first 2 possessions of the Buffalo Bills. Empty backfield. And Allen from the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Avoids that. On the run. Throws. Oh, what a pass. Dawson Knox on the receiving end. And Allen hit him right on the button.
Incredible play by Josh Allen. You see the defender coming free off the outside. He just uses the athleticism to get to the... That's a difficult throw. You're running full speed. Your body's going one direction. You're throwing across your body. And look at this. He puts it right on target. Away from the defender's outstretched hands. Josh Allen now 6 of 6 for 70 yards.
That's 6 out of 6, best start of his career. He waits. He throws deep down the middle and way overthrew John Brown.
He had him too. You can see.
We were talking with John Brown about that very thing last night.
Hard play fake up the middle. You get Bethea to bite in the middle of the field, leaves no safety. Got a little too excited, put a little bit too much juice on that thing.
Yeah, John Brown says, oh yeah, he's got an arm and he can wing it. 2nd and 10. They spread the field again, and Devin Singletary is in as a receiver. Allen looks right, throws right. Did he come up with that ball? He did. It is ruled a catch. That's Robert Foster, 2nd-year receiver out of Alabama.
Well, now they're calling it incompletion. An official from the back part of the field comes in and waves it off. Yeah, I don't think he ended up challenging that. Looks like it went through his arms and hit the ground.
So now it's 3rd and 10. And a chance for the Giants defense to make a stand. Play clock down to 2, down to 1, got the snap off. Allen looking, throws, got his man inside the 40-yard line. Again, right on the money, and that time John Brown there to make the catch.
Well, John Brown was one-on-one with the rookie DeAndre Baker. Baker's got to respect the speed, especially since Brown just got over the top on 1st down on the overthrow. So it's just basically a deep curl route, pushing it up to about 15 yards. Easy curl, come back to the football. It's still going to leave you plenty of room to get the 1st down.
Can you see confidence building in Josh Allen?
You definitely can see. You can just tell by the way a quarterback delivers a football if he's decisive with it.
This is Gore, and Gore inside the 30 to the 29-yard line. Pickup of 9. It'll be 2nd and 1. We talk about how many times we talked to Frank Gore and how much he loves football, and he has just been steady. He puts the word steady to shame. He has been that all throughout his 15 years.
Well, and the Bills coaches have told us how much he's everywhere. He's in the building. He's a grinder, I guess you could say. That's his running style. That's the way he plays, but that's the way he prepares as well, whether it's in the weight room or training room. He's just always around the building.
This is Singletary. Singletary looking for the 1st down. That's going to be very close at the 28-yard line. Tomlinson, Haley converging for the tackle. The first quarter is about to expire. It does expire. We've played 15 minutes here at MetLife Stadium. Giants struck first. Bills answered. That's where we are. 7-7 as we go to the 2nd. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back for the start of the 2nd quarter as you look at the 1st quarter numbers. The Giants with the advantage on the ground. The Bills the advantage in total yards. Measurement has them just short of a 1st down, and T.J. Yeldon is in the backfield.
Well, you would think quarterback sneak here until
until
Dawkins jumps off sides. And
false start. Offense, number 73. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
I can tell you right now what they're arguing is that the defense called out the snap count. They called out a quick count and got him to jump. That's a hard one to prove unless the official hears it.
So now it's 3rd and 6. Allen over the middle. That's complete, and that's good for a first down. John Brown finding a hole in the secondary.
Brown is lined up to the outside out of the bunch. He's just going to cross in between. Jenkins is in coverage. Not in bad coverage. It's just you got to go through the wash of those other receivers. Picks, rubs, whatever you want to call it. The bunch is hard to do. When you're in man-to-man coverage and you don't trade it off, when you're sticking to your man out of bunch, it's hard when you have those crossing routes.
By the way, his last time on the field, Frank Gore called for a substitute. Singletary went out. Gore came in and went into the blue tent, so he's being looked at for something. And when we find out, we'll let you know. Allen. And he threw that into the dirt, and he didn't see much to come from it.
Well, it looks like they're trying to set up a screen to Dawson Knox. And it was just covered as we take a look back to the Frank Gore hit.
Zimenez on top of him, and Gore is now out of the blue tent and sitting on the bench. As Josh Allen looks at a 2nd and 10. Allen. Sideline pass is incomplete off the hands of Dawson Knox. And it'll be 3rd and 10. Josh Allen throws a hard ball, doesn't he?
He does, and that's just part of the learning process also, is understanding when to touch. A week ago we had, as you mentioned earlier, we had the Colts game and Jacoby Brissett, understanding when to fire it and when you got to touch it in there. 3rd and 10, it may require you firing it in there, so we'll see what happens.
TJ Yeldon is on the field as one of the 5 wideouts. Allen throwing to the sideline. That is complete, and first down yardage inside the 15 for Cole Beasley. That one had a little zip on it.
Yeah, 3rd and 10, just the 10-yard out route. DeAndre Baker, the rookie out of Georgia, first-round pick. Look at the cushion he gives him. He gives him a good 8 to 10-yard cushion. Beasley actually runs it short of the first down. And there's that zip you're talking about, putting it right on the numbers, giving Beasley the ability to cut inside and go get the first down.
On this drive, the Bills 3 out of 3 on 3rd down. Singletary in the backfield. He gets the handoff, tries the left side to the 5, to the end zone for the touchdown. Devin Singletary with his first National Football League touchdown.
You'll see the Bills go in motion just to cause a little bit of hesitation by the defense, but excellent job of blocking. Singletary untouched until he gets to the goal line.
The Bills' 3rd-round draft pick out of Florida. Rushed for 70 yards in the opener, caught 5 passes for 28 yards, and gets his first NFL touchdown here today. Hauschka for the extra point. And it is perfect. So the Buffalo Bills start this day down 7-0. They have come back to grab a 14-7 lead. 13:24 to play in the first half. Welcome back, everyone. We remind you, this week's Colbert is all new with Senator Elizabeth Warren, Billy Crystal, and tomorrow, catch Tom Hiddleston. Plus, from The Talk, Marie Osmond. All new Colbert this week on CBS. Singletary's 14-yard touchdown run, his first in the National Football League. capped a 70-yard drive.
He didn't get in the end zone last week, but he had 4 rushes for 70 yards. He put up some impressive numbers with limited touches a week ago.
Eli, meanwhile, number 7 all-time passing yards in the NFL, 0 today. And Valentine will not have a chance to run this one back, and the Giants will start from their own 25. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley, 55 yards on that opening drive. But since then, the next 2 drives were both 3 and outs for the Giants, and Barkley carried twice and has just 6 yards.
Well, it's a combination of things. Number 1, the Giants got away from the run game, and number 2, the adjustments that the Buffalo Bills did on defense. So let's see what their mindset is coming out here now in their 4th possession.
Eli's got a complete pass somewhere along here, right?
You would think at some point in time.
Low snap, he picks it up, throws on the slant, and he's got Cody Latimer for a first down.
You ask for it, you get it. It didn't go as smoothly as they'd hoped with the snap, but they've tried screens, they've tried up the field.
Is that a nightmare for a quarterback? You got to reach down for the ball, and then you don't know what you're going to see when you look up.
Well, that's the thing. You just lose your vision. You're trying to see the rotation of the safeties. You're trying to see what the linebackers are doing, what the front you're catching in your peripheral vision as to what they're doing. So it takes your vision away from the field.
Barkley to the 40, and Tre'Davious White in on the tackle.
Do you see how Tre'Davious White collapsed at that time and didn't allow any room for Saquon to go anywhere? If you go back to the touchdown run, Tre'Davious White was the one that was at the edge. He was at the line of scrimmage when that bounced to the outside, and he allowed Saquon to cut it up inside of him and get to that second level. So Tre'Davious White was coached up on the sideline. Listen, you got to collapse that. You can't give him that lane.
Manning on 2nd and 9. Hit as he throws the ball, and it's incomplete. Pass intended for Latimer, and Levi Wallace was there to defend. And Manning with a defender in his face.
Yeah, watch the hit he takes with his arm in the air. Johnson was the one that hit him up high, and fortunately for the Giants, that ball wasn't intercepted as it fluttered through the air.
So it's 3rd and 9. Eli had tipped at the line of scrimmage, and it falls incomplete. Lorenzo Alexander got a hand up.
And that's what pass rushers are taught to do. Listen, if you can't get that initial move to get upfield, to get after the quarterback, then try and read their eyes and get the timing of it to get a hand on it. And that's exactly what Alexander did.
Micah Hyde back at his own 15-yard line for the upcoming kick from Riley Dixon. He gets off another dandy. He's going to let this one bounce, and it will go saved at the goal line. Oh, what a play by number 30, Antonio Hamilton.
If this stands, this is incredible. I watch him come across. I want to see his feet. If the foot's not in, he catches it. That foot doesn't go in.
Yeah.
He gets rid of it. Great play.
Special teams at work.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon, the network more people rely on. Papa John's. Get a large meats or works pizza now at papajohns.com. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, the Giants faithful all fired up as the Bills will get started from their own 2-yard line after a terrific special teams play. Frank Gore told you he had gone into the tent. We don't know why, but we do know he's back on the field. The Bills with their backs to the end zone, leading 14-7. Give it to the first back, and that is DeMarco. DeMarco pulls for maybe a yard down to Melanie.
Well, Greg, you mentioned Frank Gore. You saw him come off the field sort of limping after that last offensive series. He was taken into the medical tent and evaluated for a concussion. He cleared protocol, came out and said, hey, I'm good, and he's back in the game.
Typical Frank Gore. Thanks, Melanie.
Well, that was DeMarco's first carry of the year. He's caught a couple passes out of the backfield, but he's generally not used much as a ball carrier, more of a lead blocker. Tried to get a little separation from the goal line, only getting a yard on that carry.
2nd and 9. Play fake to Gore. Allen out of his own end zone, throws far side of the field, and that is complete to Brown. That's another impressive throw by Allen from this side of the field to the other.
Well, it's a hard play fake. You only have 2 receivers going out in the route. He wanted to work to the right side to Zay Jones, and by the time you come all the way to the backside, you can see Brown took that up about 20 yards before coming back. Jenkins gave him plenty of cushion, and
that's really
great protection for Allen. That's standing in your own end zone to work from one side of the field to the other. That's a gutsy move.
20 yards downfield. That's a lot of faith in your offensive line to
Yes,
protect the quarterback standing in his end zone. First down. Out of the backfield is Gore. He's out of bounds. We go to New York for an update. JB and Coach.
Steelers' first touchdown of the season.
Yeah, it comes via James Conner from 1 yard out. It's set up by TJ Watt, caused fumble, Mark Barron recovery. 7-0 Pittsburgh over Seattle.
Greg, Trent, and Melody.
All right, guys, thank you. Strange to hear, isn't it? This late into week 2, the Steelers' first touchdown of the season.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Does not make Mike Tomlin a happy man. That's it.
Well, that'd be a heck of a win if they could pull off against Seattle today.
2nd and short yardage. They'll give it to Gore. Gore has the yardage. Out to the 30-yard line. A little additional pushing and shoving after the whistle. To Lee Smith and Alec Ogletree. We talked with Alec Ogletree on Friday. Just one of the quiet leaders on this Giant defense.
He really is. And, I talked to him. I said, what was the attitude of the defense this week after the performance you put up against the Cowboys? He said, listen, it was more about we need to have better communication and better attention to detail. There were way too many missed assignments and guys running wide open and missed tackles. So it was just a matter of not mass panic, but just dialing in and paying attention more to the details and focusing in.
On first down, Allen throwing over the middle and a fine grab by Zay Jones. Out to the 45-yard line and a first down.
Jones is working from Allen's right, our left on the screen, just working in the middle of the field off the play fake. And that's an area of Josh Allen's game that he spent a lot of time in the offseason working on, is those short to intermediate throws. His completion percentage wasn't very good, to be honest, a year ago. And so those were the throws he wanted to work on. And he's been much more accurate in the first 2 weeks on those types of throws.
He's already completed passes to 8 different receivers today. Play clock winding down. He gets the snap, and he's going to keep it and run it right up the middle. Penalty marker is down as he slides down at about the 41-yard line.
Holding. Offense number 60. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
That's Mitch Morse, and that's unfortunate for the Bills because that was a pretty good play.
QB draw right up the middle. Mitch Morse, the new center that they just brought over in free agency from Kansas City. Didn't get to play a lot in the preseason because dealing with concussion protocol. Oh, I didn't really see a hold there, Greg.
I didn't either.
I mean, they called it on 60.
Of course, I didn't see Mitch put up much of an argument either, did we? So it's 1st and 20. Allen with time, throwing, wide open, complete to Cole Beasley. Beasley to the 20, the 15, and down at the 13-yard line. We just talked about communication on the Giants. Not sure that the communication worked on that play.
Yeah, Beasley somehow ends up wide open. Beasley's going to be lined up on the bottom of the screen, and you'll see it's just a vertical release. There's not a whole lot that goes on. A little out and up, but he's not doing an out and up on anybody. It's zone coverage. The rookie DeAndre Baker collapses to the inside with the tight end and leaves that entire right sideline open.
51-yard pickup. They're looking at Ty and Secchi, and we'll take a break. A reminder for you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and the coach for all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. There's Ty Nsekhe, only 6'8", 330 pounds. So Deion Dawkins in at left tackle, Cody Ford at right tackle as Nsekhe takes a break. Walked off under his own power. There's a pitch for Isaiah McKenzie. McKenzie to the 5, to the end zone. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Well, this will go down as a touchdown pass for Josh Allen because he actually flips it forward. Great timing on the movement by McKenzie as he comes underneath. Allen then after he tosses the ball does the play fake. Excellent execution and design. Watch as he flips it forward. He does the hand fake to Frank Gore, so it freezes the linebackers. Then McKenzie's just out in space. Excellent block by Knox one-on-one. Great play design and execution.
I've got to say, these Buffalo Bills are doing pretty much everything right now. The extra point attempt by Hauschka is good. And with 7.5 to play here in the first half, you hear the boos again. 21-7 Bills. We're back in 30 seconds after this from AARP. The Bills with a 21-7 lead. Trent, I keep going back to the fact that these Bills have recovered from everything you wouldn't want to see when you take the field. The Giants handled the line of scrimmage with ease, ran the ball at will, scored a touchdown, and the Bills had every reason to buckle and did not.
Well, and they started off, think about their first drive was a 3-and-out, and now the last 3 series, including this one, going 98 yards for a touchdown drive. Think about it now, going back to last week, 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. They had one they were just trying to kill the clock. So 5 of their last 7 drives in this stadium have been for touchdowns.
This is Ballantyne running it out of his end zone and tripped up as he crossed the 10-yard line. Siran Neal making the special teams play. Sometimes to fans, special teams is an afterthought, but it's not that way to the players on the field, certainly not that way to the coaches.
No, that has an impact, big impact on the game. Many people spend as much time on special teams as they do the other phases because of how much of an advantage it gives them from a field position standpoint.
From their own 14, Manning the pitch to Barkley. Barkley trying to turn the corner and didn't get very much there. As you mentioned, the Bills won here last week, trying to become a team that wins in the same road stadium in back-to-back weeks. Last time it happened was the Chicago Bears, 2006. Dallas did it. Washington did it. Dallas did it before.
I know the Giants faithful wants to continue to see them feed the ball to Barkley, but they've got to get something going in the passing game. Now you're down 21-7. Manning only 1 of 7 for 14 yards.
Manning looks right, throws right, and that's complete and out of bounds at the 20-yard line is Benny Fowler. The last 3 quarters here at MetLife, the Giants and the Jets, New York teams, have been outscored 35-7. Buffalo's a New York team too, isn't it, right?
Well, 3rd and 4. Giants so far have not been very good. 0 for 3 on 3rd down.
Barkley in the backfield. Manning throws, got the first down on the far side of the field, out of bounds just across the 25-yard line is Evan Engram.
I was just thinking when they were going to throw a ball in his direction. A week ago set career highs with 11 catches. This time one-on-one with Tre'Davious White. Interesting that the Bills decided to put a corner on him one-on-one and not one of their safeties. That just shows you the respect of his route running that they give him.
So a much needed first down for Manning and the Giants. Manning being chased on the move and has to throw it away. It'll be 2nd and 10. Ed Oliver and Shaq Lawson chasing him down. These are the guys that Manning is missing in his receiving core. Shepard from the concussion suffered at Dallas last week. Golden Tate serving the 2nd of his 4 games, suspended for the violation. And Corey Coleman gone for the year. Those are pretty good pass catchers to not have in your lineup.
Yeah, when you lose what you think are going to be 2 or 3 of your best weapons on offense, and now all of a sudden that's taken from you. That's when Latimer and Ingram, Fowler.
And we have a timeout call on the field. So Buffalo calls timeout with 5:47 to play here in the first half. And Sean McDermott has got to be feeling pretty good compared to what happened a week ago here when they were just giving the ball away. Well, cover your eyes, Bills fans, and Mike Gluck, our spotter here in the booth, who hails from Buffalo. He can forget Super Bowl 25. Scott Norwood lined up for the game-winning 47-yard field goal, sailed wide right. The Giants won their 2nd Super Bowl in 5 years, and the forgiving Bills fans a day later held a rally in Buffalo where "We Want Norwood" cheers rang out throughout the city. NFL celebrating its 100th season, and throughout the year we will revisit some of the iconic moments that make up the league's rich history. 2nd and 10. Comes the blitz. Manning, throw it up high, and going up to grab it at the 35-yard line is Cody Core. He is about, let's see, looks to be about maybe a half-yard shy of a first down. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Hurrying up, getting to the line.
And Manning will keep it for the first down. So the clock continues to move. We come up on 5 minutes to play here in the first half. Certainly the Giants would like to get something on the board before the break, but I'm thinking more than anything else, Brent, for their self-confidence.
Well, they need to, yeah, and this is nice that they've got 2 first downs now on this drive. They're converting on 3rd down, and of course the quarterback sneaked there to get the first down. Trying to find ways to, Barkley, as we've said, 55 yards on that first carry, but only on that first series, but only 8 yards since then.
Here's Barkley, and Barkley squeezes through the middle of the line and across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. And we've talked about his ability to jog left and right. He's got a pretty good quick start at the line of scrimmage.
He does. He's got he's got all the tools, really. He's got the burst. He's got the vision. He's got the balance and the patience in the running game. Let the blocks line it up, and when you got to go, he can go. And then, of course, he's got the power to rip through those arm tackles as well. 2nd and 4. That pass to the sideline is complete. Midfield, out of bounds. Cody Core, first down. Plenty of space in the pocket to get rid of the ball. Quick throw, just hit your foot and get rid of it. Very similar to what I talked about with Josh Allen. Quarterbacks, when they get into a rhythm, you can see the rhythm that they have as far as planting that foot and throwing it. That time to Harrison Phillips getting up and batting the ball down.
Trent, I brought this up to Eli when we talked to him on Friday, but we hear so much about the rapport that's established between a quarterback and his wide receivers. Well, what happens when those wide receivers go down to injury? Then you've got to rely on people that you don't usually throw to or aren't used to trusting as much.
A lot of times those are guys you're throwing to in the spring and the offseason when you're doing OTAs and mini camps, because once training camp starts, you're trying to get reps with the guys that you're going to be playing with. So when all of a sudden, you know, you lose a guy to suspension, you lose a guy to injury, it makes it that much more difficult from a timing standpoint.
This is Barkley. Barkley! Inside the 30, we have a penalty marker on the far side of the field.
Well, they've tried getting a couple of screens off today and haven't been able to do it. That time had some
Offside,
separation.
defense lined up in the neutral zone, number 93. That penalty's declined, result of the play is first down.
Trent Murphy, the defensive end, lined up offside. So it's a first down for the Giants now at the Buffalo 30.
Defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier. Some of the adjustments that he made after that first series when the Giants drove down have been excellent, but now the Giants getting something going here before the end of the half.
Manning sets up the screen. And this is Evan Ingram, and that one doesn't go very far at all. You were constantly hitting the Buffalo Bills defensive players about, has Leslie Frazier told you about the Bears? Has he told you about those 85 Bears?
Well, when you look at the numbers of this Bills defense and you consider what they've done over the course of last season and the beginning of this season, and you start talking about the fact that your defensive coordinator played on one of the best defensive units in NFL history in those 85 Bears, I would be picking his brain as much as possible.
2nd and 12. Manning got rid of it. To the 30-yard line is Barkley and no further. Matt Milano making the tackle, so it looks like it's going to be a 3rd and about 10.
And Greg, as you know, there were a few characters on that on that defensive unit. So
that's really kind of you.
There may be a few stories that Leslie has to share.
2 minutes to play in the first half. 21-7 Buffalo.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AARP, Real Possibilities, and by Bud Light, reminding you to keep it crisp responsibly.
One of the great things about this 100th season the NFL is celebrating. You get to look back at some of the greats on these various teams. Marv Levy and Jim Kelly there helped lead the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls. By the way, New England to reach its 4th straight Super Bowl this season. 3rd and 9. Manning throwing. Got his man open. He hit him inside the 10-yard line. No, it's incomplete. Benny Fowler was the target.
Micah Hyde coming over with the hit.
That's a pretty good throw by Eli.
It is. You got to put it right in the slot in that cover 2 look with the safety, and you're trying to hit that window. There's a crease along the sideline into that window. Micah Hyde does a tremendous job of coming over and knocking the ball loose. A clean hit and knocking the ball loose.
Aldrick Rosas has made 20 consecutive field goal attempts. And he missed that one. Pulled it to the left. So this drive, the end of the first half, goes down the drain for the Giants, and the score remains 21-7 with 1:49 to play in the half.
Everything looks good. Looks like a clean snap, hold, and kick. Tell by the body language, though. Well, now the Bills, they got 2 timeouts left, minute 49. Plenty of time. And based on where the kick was missed, they can get themselves easily into field goal range. But I'm sure Josh Allen is thinking 7.
So here's Buffalo at their own 38-yard line. 1:49 to play and 2 timeouts. Going to keep it and go nowhere. Lost yardage on the play back at the 35-yard line. And timeout is called by the Bills. Clock stops with 1:38. Remind you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report with JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher. All the latest scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
I think Brian Daboll's done an amazing job here after that opening series. Just play calling, the rhythm they've gotten into offensively. but starting it off with a quarterback draw at the 2-minute with 2 timeouts to go.
I didn't expect it.
I know they had some success. They got called back. They had a long run down here at the other end of the field. They got it called back because of a holding call. So maybe he was thinking, let's get back to it, but they had to burn one of those timeouts.
Let me make a correction. It was the Giants who called a timeout
so they
there.
didn't burn it.
So each team with 2 timeouts. Allen, quick pass, complete, and down immediately was John Brown. And we get another timeout and a stoppage of the clock with 1:36 to play.
Do you see?
So that timeout was also called by the Giants. They are down to 1 as they hope to put the stops to this one. Meanwhile, take a look at these numbers. Buffalo, 34 consecutive games without a 300-yard passer.
Greg, did you see the way that Peppers was coming on the blitz? He was coming free, and Allen did a great job of dropping his arm, throwing it around him and getting a completion, not taking the sack, not getting the ball batted down, throwing from a different platform to get the completion. And now they come up to a 3rd down. If they get the stop here, then the Giants are going to use. Oh, man. Marcus Golden getting in the backfield.
Neutral zone infraction, defense number 44. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Well, here's how important that is. So a week ago, the Bills were 4 for 5 on 3rd down attempts under 7 yards. They were 1 of 5 on 3rd downs over 7 yards. So that all of a sudden takes it from 3rd and 8 now to 3rd and 3. So it increases your percentages quite a bit.
And the Giants have been using timeouts to stop this clock and hopefully get the ball back. 3rd and 3. Bills looking to convert another 3rd down, and under pressure, he threw it away. And now penalty markers fly, and tempers flare back at the 30-yard line. Lorenzo Carter was the man with the initial pressure on Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is a big quarterback to tackle.
Yeah, Lorenzo Carter has a chance, has a hold of him, and ends up driving him down into the ground. You see 59 as he comes off the block. I think the offensive line, well, first of all, Josh Allen flipped around because he didn't like the way he was driven into the ground, and now quarterbacks are protected quite a bit. I don't think we saw a penalty marker there. It wasn't. There wasn't. No, it wasn't. You know, it was in the offensive lineman came to his defense. Yeah. So it wasn't that initial push. It was that push right there.
Cody Ford is the 2nd-round draft pick out of Oklahoma.
There's 2 fouls on the play, both by the offense. Intentional grounding, offense number 17. That penalty's declined. After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 70. 15-yard penalty, 4th down, the down counts.
Meanwhile, let's go to our rules guru, Gene Steratore. Gene.
In this scenario, guys, as he said, they could have accepted either one of those. The loss of down with intentional grounding would have also applied, but because the other is after the play, the down counts. New York will get involved to review this entire activity now to see if there's anyone on the field in this proximity that would do something and by their actions have that action rise to a level of disqualification. Here there doesn't appear to be anything like that, and it's a really good job of the officials to working hard and getting players out of the way and separating people.
Hey, Gene, let me ask you before we lose you. What did you think of the hit on Josh Allen? Josh Allen was looking for a flagrant. Was that a defensive player driving a quarterback into the ground, which we know is a penalty? Was that an instance where they could have called that?
the tackle starts trending. I think we're okay with it. And the other thing that we look for as referees now, when they're bringing quarterbacks down, does that defensive player use an offhand or something to kind of brace himself so that he doesn't get penalized for that? And as we watch this happen, he kind of just falls with him. I would not have upgraded that to roughing in that scenario.
And I agree with you, Gene. That's right.
All right, Gene, thank you. Meanwhile, this is T.J. Jones. T.J. Jones, midfield, inside the 35-yard line. With all the injuries to the wide receivers, the Giants moved T.J. Jones to the active roster. He was terrific in the preseason, their leading receiver in the preseason.
Excellent job of blocking, and you see Jones finds that crease and is able to get through. He gets into the open field. Saran Neal was the only person left back there that could have made the tackle, and he comes up with it.
63-yard punt, 60-yard return. And the Giants with 1:15 on the clock and one timeout. Manning from the 33. Got his man close to the 20-yard line. That is a completion to Benny Fowler.
Well, because of that,
continues to move.
Well, because of that one timeout, you have a little flexibility here. There's just now under a minute. Get the guys on the line of scrimmage, try and save it.
Manning again had it batted, and it was intercepted. Picked off by the Buffalo Bills. Trent Murphy, the defensive end, off the deflection by the rookie Ed Oliver, I believe. Ed Oliver is number 91, first-round draft pick out of Houston. Let's see if he's the one who gets the hand up. He does.
It hits him. It goes off the offensive player, pops in the air, and Murphy, aware, grabs the ball before hitting the ground. Missed opportunity for the Giants, but 47 seconds and 2 timeouts for the Bills. Let's see if they decide to be aggressive with it.
Eli's had a couple of those tipped here in the first half.
Looks like they're going to take a knee here, Greg, and get to the half with a 2-touchdown lead. And they get the ball in the second half.
Once again, a terrific special teams play. This time it was P.J. Jones. And the Giants can't capitalize. And with that knee, that'll take us to halftime. The boos rain down on the New York Giants as they head to the locker room. The Giants struck first in this game. Buffalo came back with 3 unanswered touchdowns and go to the locker room leading by a score of 21-7. And with that, we'll take a break and get you set for halftime. 21-7 Buffalo. Halftime comes next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. Welcome back to MetLife Stadium here in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Buffalo Bills lead the New York Giants by a score of 21-7. And let's have a look at the first half highlight presented by DirecTV. Josh Allen for Devin Singletary, and Singletary continuing his outstanding. He's a great-looking rookie.
He's looked outstanding, really, the first 2 weeks of the season. A week ago, 4 rushes for 70 yards. And of course, there is his first touchdown in his NFL career. What a special moment for him.
You remember your first?
I do, definitely. It was I was with Washington against the Giants. Actually, it was in Washington. First rushing touchdown.
Yeah. How far?
First throwing touchdown was here. Good. Well, I guess it would have been the old stadium. Not
45 yards, 50-yard run. Is that what you have?
You know better than that. It was maybe like a 3-yard, keep around the backside.
I gave you a shot. Let's talk about Josh Allen, who has had a completely different start to the game this week than he did against the Jets a week ago.
He's done a much better job of protecting the football. And you think about the Bills offensively, the first series they went 3 and out. The next 3 series they had touchdown drives, long touchdown drives for that matter. And Josh Allen's been outstanding. He's been very decisive on his throws, decisive with his decision-making. And completion percentage, he's completing 75% of his passes, over 200 yards in the first half. and 1 touchdown pass. So when you consider what he did last week, completing 65% of his passes, now 75% of his passes, he's a much different quarterback. You and I have talked about this throughout the first half. He's playing with much more confidence. He has much more command of the offense. He's very definitive with his decisions and getting the ball out of his hands.
Okay, so now the New York Giants, they showed flashes, especially on that opening drive. However, Eli Manning has had some troubles on offense. What do you look for in the second half?
I think they're going to continue to try and showcase Saquon Barkley. There's no doubt that they're missing the receivers they're missing Sterling Shepard, missing Golden Tate because of the suspension. They are missing those key weapons. They've got to get Ingram involved. He had a big day last week. They need to try and get him more involved. And, of course, it's just continuing to spread the football around. They were in position to score right before the end of the half. Ball gets tipped in the air and intercepted. You've got to take advantage of those opportunities when the field position presents itself.
All right, let's check in downstairs with Melanie Collins. Melanie.
Craig, thank you. As you can imagine, Sean McDermott walked up to me with a big smile on his face before they went into the locker room at the half. He felt like his team was fundamentally sound all around. He was a bit disappointed with the points he felt they left out there with those 3 first-half penalties. I asked him if he's pleased with the way his defense has contained Saquon Barkley in the first half. He said yes, but Melanie, as we know, that is a 60-minute effort.
Boy, with Barkley, I imagine it feels longer than 60 minutes.
And all defensive guys are going to say the same thing. With Saquon, it better be a 60-minute effort because we saw what he did in that opening drive. 55 yards rushing, all rushes. There were no passes in that opening series for the Giants, and since then, the Bills' defense has made the adjustments necessary. Now it's important to see what kind of adjustments the Giants have made at halftime to try and make this a game.
Isaiah McKenzie will let this one bounce in the end zone for the touchback, and the Bills will start at their own 25-yard line. So it's interesting, always interesting to me when they come out of the locker room, Trent, to see what direction offenses take. Do you continue to deal with what worked with you, or are there any change of pace that happens?
Well, and if let's go back to last week's game. The Giants scored on their opening possession, didn't score the rest of the half. They scored on their opening possession of the second half, and they didn't score again until later. The Bills, on the other hand, they had all the turnovers in the first half, didn't start off the third quarter very well here in this stadium against the Jets. It took until the end of the third and the fourth quarter for them to come to life. So adjustments are a big part of it. We saw Leslie Frazier and his defense make adjustments after the Giants' first drive. Now let's see what halftime adjustments have been made.
Singletary hit at the line of scrimmage and recovered to get about 2 yards. It'll be 2nd and 8. Ryan Connolly, the rookie out of Wisconsin, making the hit for the Giants.
And they really like him on defense. They just think he's a hard-nosed player. Yeah, he was a 5th-round pick out of Wisconsin, but you can see with that tackle, he's a guy that they just like his style. They like everything about him, and it'd be great to see how he progresses, not only through this season, but through his career here in New York.
Allen, bullet over the middle through the hands of his intended receiver, Dawson Knox. It'll be 3rd and 8.
Well, Ogletree comes on a late blitz through the middle. He comes free and nearly gets a hand on the football. This is a ball that you have to catch, but as you said, Greg, Josh Allen put a lot of smoke on that ball. He saw it was man-to-man coverage, and he fired it in there, but that's still one you need to come up with.
Been a good day for the Bills on 3rd down. They're 2 out of 3. And they're looking at 1 here. 3rd and 8, they need the 35-yard line for a first down. Play clock winding down. They barely get the snap off. Allen stepping up and can't shake the tackler in the backfield. Goes down at the 21-yard line, and that was Olsen Pierre, 4th-year D lineman out of Miami. And that'll force the punt.
Well, and I think it's a little bit of Jabril Peppers coming in. He ends up blitzing from his safety position, and he comes up late into the picture, and I don't know if that causes confusion, because then all of a sudden, guys aren't sure exactly who they're blocking. Some guys get loose. I don't know what Josh Allen's looking at as he's down on the ground.
So, let's see. There's a challenge flag out on the sideline on the Giants side.
You can see Shermer read his lips saying he fumbled the ball, but if the officials blew the whistle dead. So this is what the crowd was going crazy about, and this is what Pat Shermer threw the challenge flag. Oh, the ball's kicked out.
The ruling on the field was the quarterback's forward progress was stopped. That is not reviewable, not challengeable. Ruling on the field is 4th down.
So that explains it.
Let's see where the whistle comes in. Looked pretty simultaneous. It sounded pretty simultaneous. So here's T.J. Jones, who had an impressive punt return at the end of the first half. Jones at his own 24-yard line and doesn't find much room up the sideline. And the Giants will start at their own 36-yard line, and that means the young tank from Penn State and the offense after this. Saturday, buckle up for a big college football doubleheader. First, the Aggies and Auburn collide in College Station, and then later, Notre Dame and Georgia do go toe-to-toe in prime time. All your college football coverage starts with the drive to Atlanta, 2:30 Eastern, followed by College Football Today at 3 o'clock Saturday here on CBS. So here are Eli and the offense from their own 32. Barkley out to about the 40. So there's no question, Trent, that Pat Shurmur's kind of walking a tightrope here in New York at the quarterback position. There was a lot of pressure on him to give Daniel Jones more of a look earlier in the preseason than he got.
Well, the conversation has been a hot topic since they drafted Daniel Jones in the first round. And I think when you look at the first half and you see Eli Manning 9 of 19, 74 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, you start thinking, okay, is this the time that we want to see him? Daniel Jones went in as Saquon Barkley catches it out of the backfield. But is this the time you want to see Daniel Jones come into the game? A week ago, they put him in at the end of the game when the game was already out of hand, just to get him some action. He did have a fumble. He was 3 for 4 throwing, but he did have the fumble. Is it the time? It is not the time right now. It's 21-7. You just got the offense off the field of the Bills. Your offense has an opportunity. This game is still within reach. It's not the time to make a quarterback change. If they decide to do it in the fourth quarter, depending on how the flow of the game goes, I understand it. I'm a big fan for letting young quarterbacks sit behind a veteran guy and try and learn the game and not throw him in too early.
Barkley has the first down out to midfield. And if you make that change right now, what is the message to the team?
If you make the change right now, then he's your guy the rest of the way. Because this game is still at 21-7. You got the ball at midfield.
Legal formation, offense. Number 18 was covering eligible receiver. Number 83, 5-yard penalty. Replay, 3rd down.
So they'll take away the first down. Burst by Barkley.
Well, and those are the mistakes that the Giants can't afford to have in the second half. We've mentioned time and time again the number of receivers they're missing, the weapons that Eli Manning is missing. But back to your question, if you do make that change now, then that's your change going forward. It's
you can't flip-flop at the quarterback position.
It's not something you can do. It just sends a bad message to the team.
3rd and 6. Wayne Gallman is in the backfield with Manning, who has to throw for it this side of the field, and the catch is made close to midfield, but enough for a first down. Cody Latimer with the grab. But he had a defender all over him, too.
Tre'Davious White's all over his back. I don't know how he doesn't knock this ball out. At first, I thought they were going to throw a flag. Excellent position. Gets the arm right in. Good concentration by Latimer to bring that in and get the first down.
That's a good play all over.
It was. Good throw, good spot with the throw. Good job by the receiver coming back and attacking the football, and the defender's right there. That's just good football.
Trent Green loves quarterbacks completing passes. Just loves it. First down, Giants. Their own 48. Quick pass to the far side. That is complete, and running room for a little bit is Russell Shepard. First time he's caught a ball today. Line of scrimmage moves now to the Buffalo 45.
The other part, and we haven't touched on it, is this is a sunny, warm day, especially on this turf. So as this game progresses into the fourth quarter, who's on the field more? What defensive units are on the field more? Who's going to get worn down as this thing gets into the fourth quarter? We know how both these teams performed in the fourth quarter a week ago, but now out here in this heat, how does that transfer?
That's Barkley, and Barkley has enough for the first down. Let's go back to Eli for a moment, who started this game only completing 1 of his first 7 throws. Since then, he is 11 for 15.
Getting into much more of a rhythm. They tried early on to get some screen passes to get the ball out of his hands quickly. That wasn't working. Even the up the field throws, there wasn't time as far as from an accuracy standpoint. But as you said, Greg, he's gotten into much more of a rhythm. Unfortunately, right before the half, he had that ball tipped in the air that was caught by Murphy for the interception.
Manning throws back. There's a penalty marker down. The tip pass is caught by Rhett Ellison, the tight end.
I think they're going to get Solder with the holding call.
Holding, offense number 76, 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Shaq Lawson's coming off the edge, and Solder's just going to grab a handful. It's just a called throwback. Right here on the end is going to be where you see it. Lawson goes to the inside. You see Solder was setting up to the outside defender, and then all of a sudden Lawson shoots the inside gap, so he takes that right arm and just gets it up in the neck of the shoulder pads, and easy call for the officials.
So Eli now looking at a 1st and 20. Over the middle, that's complete. And surging forward to about the 43 is Ellison again. So it'll be 2nd down. We duck under 9.5 minutes to play here in the 3rd. 21-7 Buffalo.
Well, and those are the plays right there. As a receiver, when you're fighting for the extra yards in the middle of the field, you got to worry about the defenders coming from behind and trying to punch the ball out. So good job by Ellison hanging on to that football.
Eli from the shotgun. Out of the pocket, directing traffic, and has to throw it away. It'll be 3rd and 12. Chased by Ed Oliver, chased by Shaq Lawson. Boy, the Bills, they rave about Ed Oliver.
Well, and they should. It's just he's young, and he's going to have to learn. You have 10 of your 11 starting defenders coming back, and the only new guy is your first-round pick, Ed Oliver. And they said he works hard, and he's trying to get up to speed. But you've got a unit that's been working well together now for quite some time, and he's been a great addition to him. It was interesting watching Eli on that. That was very similar to our going green at the beginning of this game, where they rushed forward, dropped 7. Nobody was open. Plenty of time for Eli to get rid of the football, but just excellent coverage by the Bills.
Manning going down.
Ball came out.
Loose ball. Buffalo thinks they have it. Let's see. They say so, but the guy who's really important is Sean Smith.
Covered by the Giants, 4th down.
And Sean Smith says otherwise.
Watch as Eli spins out of it, and before he hits the ground, Alexander's the one that rips it out.
Looks like it rolled right to his right guard, Kevin Zeitler.
Zeitler gets a hold of it.
So Micah Hyde is deep back at his own 10-yard line.
Well, that was self-inflicted, Greg. They were moving the football. They had good field position, and a penalty and a sack.
Fair catch called and made at about the 14-yard line. That's happened before this afternoon. Giants get on a roll and then sometimes shoot themselves in the foot. 21-7.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McCafe Premium Roast Coffee. Good is brewing. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
How about that twosome? With the NFL celebrating its 100th season, a look at some New York Giants greats. Bill Parcells and our colleague Phil Simms led one of the more memorable teams in Giants history. Big Blue won Super Bowl 21 and 25. Here's Josh Allen from his own 14-yard line. And a little movement up front. Penalty markers fly. This will go against Buffalo.
Looked like it was Ford that moved a little
Ball
early.
start. Offense number 70. 5-yard penalty. Remains 1st down.
Greg, I've just been impressed with Josh Allen and the difference he's made from last season to this season in terms of his progression, the way he works through routes. He's got 15 completions to 8 different receivers, so he's spreading the football around. He just looks much more decisive in the pocket. Still a long way to go in this football game, but I've been impressed so far.
This is Frank Gore. And Gore crosses the 15 to about the 16-yard line. Gore 7 for 37 yards so far, and it's 2nd and 8. This Giant defense has given up 21, but they've played much better than they did a week ago in Dallas. Allen, incomplete, and a penalty marker flies. Zay Jones says he was interfered with by DeAndre Baker.
Pass interference, defense, number 27. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul, automatic, first down.
Let's check in with Melanie.
Well, Greg, on that last series when Eli Manning fumbled the football, left tackle Kevin Zeitler got tangled up in the pile. The medical staff did a bunch of tests on his left shoulder over here on the sideline. He was yelling in pain, but he returned to the bench with the offensive line. It looks like he's going to give it a go. Something to keep an eye on. They cannot afford to lose him, Greg.
Yeah, Melanie, thank you. Zeitler has been having problems all week with that shoulder. And we'll see if he comes back, and if he does, how well. On first down, Gore. To about the 27-yard line. Boy, the running backs in this game, Trent, from Frank Gore to Saquon Barkley to Devin Singletary.
A lot of talent on the field when you consider Frank Gore, how long he's been doing it.
Allen got rid of it, incomplete. We've seen a little bit of that today, and is that a direct result of the number of turnovers that he had a week ago?
You know, I think it's just smarter decisions. It's smart football. It's, you know, it's understanding game management. And when you go back to last week and the 2 interceptions and the fumbles that he had, it was trying to extend, trying to do too much at times. And as a quarterback, those are continual discussions you have to have with your coaching staff and you know, in your own mind, that you got to make smart decisions. And instead of trying to force something on your own end of the field with a 2-touchdown lead, go ahead and throw it away and give yourself a chance.
Here's a chance for the Giant defense to put the stops on. 3rd and 8, quick pass. And that's not going to get the first down done. That was John Brown, and Brown comes up about 5 yards short of a first down. So once again, T.J. Jones moves back to about his own 20-yard line. Just another booming punt by Corey Bojorquez. Jones almost dropped in his tracks at about the 20-yard line. And Siran Neal, who has been all over the field for special teams today, making the stop. 21-7. Well, you will recall after the Dallas game, the talk here in New York was the number of touches that Saquon Barkley had gotten and how they felt he should be getting the ball more. Take a look at what he's done by quarter. 61 in the first, 8 in the second, 7 so far here in the third as he lines up in the backfield with Eli Manning. And not much there at all for Saquon Barkley. For his career, which is short, by the way, this is his 2nd season, his big numbers have come in the 2nd and 3rd quarter.
Well, and I think when you look at career numbers, I think the reason why that is so low right there is because the Giants were behind in a lot of games a year ago, and so they had to turn to the passing game at that point in time and get away from the running game. As far as this game is concerned, he started off that first series with 55 yards rushing. Now it's trailed off. I give the credit to the Bills and their defense and the adjustments they've made.
We have an injured Buffalo Bill down on the field. It's Daryl Johnson. We'll be back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage.
Welcome back, everyone. Daryl Johnson, the injured Buffalo Bill on the field, able to come off the field under his own power. You see him there on the sideline. 2nd and 11 for Manning and the Giants. On the quick slant, Manning hits Benny Fowler. And that's good across the 25 to about the 27-yard line. It'll be 3rd and about 8. Oh, excuse me. About 3. So we talked about that rhythm that Manning was in earlier. Pretty important that he finds it again.
They need to convert right here. They have to get something going offensively, and they continue as they have in this third quarter to
That pass incomplete as he appeared to try to thread the needle. Levi Wallace there to break it up.
Well, and you mentioned shooting themselves in the foot earlier when you were talking, they get down there and then all of a sudden penalties or a sack or something brings them back. That time Manning trying to fire it in there. Great coverage. Wallace just knocking it away as it a little bit to the inside.
So the Giants kick it away again. And this one floats out of bounds along with Micah Hyde at around the 25-yard line. 4:49 to play here in the third. And back onto the field comes Josh Allen.
Well, both offenses have hit a little bit of a lull here in the third quarter. I guess you could say the Giants were in a little bit of a lull in the second quarter as well, but the adjustments that the Giants have made on defense to slow down the Bills as you look at the second half numbers for Josh Allen after that impressive first half. See if they can't get him into some kind of rhythm.
And we get a flag before the snap and a false start, it appears.
False start. Offense number 73. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Dion Dawkins, the left tackle.
That just drives coaches crazy and quarterbacks because now you're all of a sudden, instead of 1st and 10, now it's 1st and 15, and you go back in the huddle and there's nothing positive to say at that point in time. You just give them a look.
Buffalo with just 11 total yards in this quarter. That was behind Zay Jones, his intended receiver, who was wide open. I mean, wide open.
Yeah, Grant Haley was lined up in the slot, the nickel, and he comes off of Jones and leaves him wide open. I understand what Allen was trying to do. He tried doing what he had done earlier in the game when Peppers had come on a blitz and he tried dropping his arm to throw it around the defender. That time, I think he could have gone over the top and gotten a completion, but by dropping his arm down and trying to wrap it around when you're running a slant route, you're almost trying to throw the ball in a different direction than the receiver is going and not able to make the connection.
Allen just 1 out of 4 for 3 yards throwing in this quarter under the pressure and going down. Third sack of Josh Allen today by the Giants. Marcus Golden and O'Shane Ximenez.
Well, I mentioned earlier that the Bills have had a couple of coverage sacks. You're going to see as the pocket collapses, there's only 5 guys rushing, so that leaves 6 in coverage. There was nowhere for Josh Allen to go with that football. He was trying to look upfield. Obviously, the progression was to start upfield and the work underneath, but as you're going through that with nobody open, excellent job of coverage by the Giants.
Giants had the second fewest number of sacks in the league last year. They had none last week. They have 3 today. Allen throws over the middle. That's complete to Beasley, and Beasley will not get anywhere near first down yardage, so the Giants will get the ball back. That's another pretty good stand by the Giant defense.
It is. Excellent adjustments that they've made at halftime. They haven't allowed the Bills to get anything going, any kind of rhythm at all offensively. That time, understanding how long a distance it was on third down, let Beasley catch it underneath, and then everybody rally and make the tackle.
T.J. Jones at his own 20-yard line awaits the kick. Bjorquez has been booming some kicks today. Here's another one. Fair catch call for it. And he's out of bounds at right around the 23-yard line. Hey, next Sunday, it's an NFL on CBS doubleheader highlighted by Mahomes and the Chiefs. Their home opener against the Ravens, followed by the Seahawks, and their rowdy 12th man welcoming the Saints. Trent, you and I will be out on the left coast, Pittsburgh and the San Francisco 49ers. It all begins with JB and the gang setting up your day on the NFL Today here on CBS. So here are Manning and the Giants. Barkley to the 25. It'll be 2nd and 9. Melanie.
Greg, just an update on Bills defensive end Daryl Johnson. You saw him jog off the field under his own power. The team's back and neck specialist was examining his back down here on the sideline. He did a few little stretches, shook it off, and he was walking around down here, but he's back in the game, so he's good to go, Greg.
All right, Melanie, thank you. Just 1 yard for Barkley on that carry at 2nd and 9. Manning with time, this side of the field, and complete. Benny Fowler making the catch, and that'll be a Giant first down.
Fowler just running a comeback on the sideline. Tre'Davious White stumbles as he's coming out of the cut. That's why he gets so frustrated at the end. He nearly punches the ball out. But on that break by Fowler coming back to the football, White stumbled, gave him the opportunity to catch that ball.
Manning again. With time, coming across the field. He hits him at midfield. That's another first down for the Giants. Benny Fowler once again. So we talked about all the receivers that Eli Manning is missing today. Benny Fowler filling in nicely.
Well, when you're having problems protecting the quarterback, you need to try and move him around. You need to try and incorporate play action pass, that time faking the run to the left, doing a half roll back to the right. Trying to just cause a little bit of confusion if you can with the defensive pressure.
Back to the ground game with Barkley. And Barkley inside the 45 to the 44. You know, other than the first few attempts in the first quarter, I think Eli seems to have thrown the ball pretty well. And I can't imagine how frustrating it is for a quarterback to think you've got a great play going and then the ball gets tipped at the line.
Yeah, it's just part of the game. But I do agree with you, Greg. I think Eli's settled in after that 1-for-7 start, getting into a little bit more of a rhythm. The Bills have dialed in on the running game and trying to stop Saquon after that first series where he was just running untouched. Now they're focusing in on that pretty well.
On the slant, that's complete to Cody Core, and Eli this quarter now 8 for 10 throwing the ball, and that's another New York first down. At times they have moved the ball well in this game. It's been finishing that's been the problem.
That has been the problem. The missed field goal that they had in the first half, the tip ball with the interception at the end of the half. They've had several times where they've been down in this part of the field where they've either gotten a penalty or a sack to knock them out of scoring range.
Barkley, running room up the middle, inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line, appears to be enough for a first down. And we come to the end of 3 here at MetLife Stadium. The Giants on the move, trailing 21-7. We're back after this. Along with our producer, Ken Mack, our director, Suzanne Smith, and our terrific CBS Sports crew here at MetLife Stadium. Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Melanie Collins. We go to the fourth quarter. Buffalo with a 21-7 lead, but the New York Giants are at the Buffalo 23-yard line as we start the fourth. Manning takes the run, flips the pass to the outside, and that is complete to T.J. Jones. T.J. Jones had a terrific preseason, as we said earlier. 12 catches, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He spent 4 seasons in Detroit. This is his first with the Giants.
And as they've gotten into a rhythm here, it's a lot more quick throws. If you notice how quickly Eli Manning is getting the ball out of his hands, a lot of 5-yard routes, slant routes, drag routes underneath, quick throw to the flat, and then occasionally a play action pass and trying to push it up the field.
Barkley to about the 15. And for the first time all day, the Giants find themselves in the red zone.
Well, because of that fact, Greg, I think this is 2-down territory. I think if you don't get it and you have a 4th and short, that you end up going for it on 4th down.
3rd and 2. Manning throws this side of the field, and the catch is made at about the 11-yard line by Evan Ingram. But it'll bring up a 4th, and let's see where they mark him down. They mark him down at the 15, so it'll be 4th and 1, maybe 4th and 2. Let's see. Let's see where the spot is. 4th and 2.
Yeah, they're keeping the offense on the field, so same frame of mind that I was thinking. But Kevin Johnson with an excellent coverage on that. They tried getting a little rub route and getting to the flat, and he just worked right through it. Came up with the tackle. Here on 4th down, Bills like man-to-man coverage. You can see they've stacked, what is that, 8 defenders within a couple yards of the line of scrimmage.
Manning throwing the slant. That's complete. 1st and goal. Cody Latimer with the catch.
With 8 guys in the box, Latimer's just going to run a slant, so there's no bodies in there. You can see the Bills defenders were trying to swat the ball, which has happened to Eli a couple times today. Watch the hand come through, nearly get it. Latimer knows he's going to take a hit. He goes to protect himself.
And Latimer is taking a slow walk to the sideline.
Well, Poyer, after we look at that in slow motion, it looks like a side of the helmet to side of the helmet. It's not the crown of his helmet, but it's definitely a helmet to helmet.
Boom.
You can see Red Ellison in the background. Watch 85 here right in the front. He starts flipping his hand in the air, looking for a penalty for a helmet to helmet.
Eli 6 for 6 on this drive. 1st and goal from the 6. Saquon Barkley going to be marked down at the 5-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal. Latimer going into the medical tent.
Well, my guess is that would be concussion protocol when you saw the hit that he took and the fact that he stayed down, able to get off on his own. But they're going to check him out, especially after what happened last week with Sterling Shepard.
Yeah. On 2nd and goal. Manning, play fake. With time, throwing end zone. It is caught. Touchdown. T.J. Jones.
Well, I'd say that was a good decision to bring T.J. Jones up and get him involved in the game plan.
Arguably the best Giants receiver in the preseason.
Keep an eye on the ball. Secure. 1 foot down, 2 feet down. Does the ball stay secure? It doesn't bobble. That'll be a quickly confirmed touchdown. Play action pass. Look to the front. Tight end doesn't get a release. Jones is on the backside doing a double move. Basically, it's a dig route. He's working the back line. So as a quarterback, you're working the front side. You're trying to read a corner to the flat route. Tight end didn't get a release, so you're coming to the backside, which is your third read. He's running the dig route, but instead he stops in man-to-man coverage, works back to the opposite corner, and that's when Manning's dialed in, and Jones is able to come up with a great catch.
You know, a year ago, Bruce Arians would have been standing here and he'd go, you're exactly right, Trent.
B.A. getting his first win. How about that?
Congrats
to
him.
Good. Congrats. Congrats, Coach.
Rosas with the extra point. And it is good. 11:56 on the clock, and the Giants pull closer by a touchdown. Manning to Jones, 21-14.
Many fans and critics that like to give Eli Manning a hard time about being stoic and not showing much emotion. But let's take a look at how much this touchdown means to Eli Manning, getting the Giants back into the game. Now watch this. You don't think he's fired up, Greg? He's ready to get this thing rolling as it's back to a 7-point game.
21-14 Buffalo.
But I love seeing that out.
Oh, yeah. Isaiah McKenzie deep. And will not be bringing this one back. It'll be a touchback. And out to the 25-yard line for the Buffalo Bills. A reminder, coming up after the game, the State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher. All the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show. In this half, the New York Giants with 8 first downs to 1 for Buffalo.
Goes without saying the Buffalo offense is stalled there in the third quarter. They really had a nice rhythm going the last 3 series or so of that first half, the 3 touchdown drives. Now they got to try and get back in that rhythm as they stalled out there in the third quarter.
Allen to this side of the field and hits his wide open receiver John Brown for a first down. Let's check in with Melanie.
Greg, Giants wide receiver Cody Latimer went into the medical tent to be evaluated for a concussion. He spent a few minutes in there and then was escorted into the locker room by the training staff. He has been declared out with a concussion, and for an already banged up receiving core, that's a tough loss for the Giants as they look to attempt a comeback here.
Exactly right, Melanie. Cody Latimer no longer available to Eli Manning and the Giants this afternoon. Singletary into the backfield along with Allen on first down. And this is Singletary with a big hole on the right side. Dodging tacklers across midfield to the 47-yard line. Update time to the NFL today. Oh, we have a penalty marker before.
So to give you enough time,
I
I'm
see
simply going to say
JB coach
steal.
just on their toes.
Oh, it was a late flag. It came flying in after the play was already down.
Personal foul, offense, blindside block, number 88. 15-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
That penalty is on Dawson Knox.
It's late, and it's an unnecessary hit. Watch him as he comes in and cleans up the pile. Not a vicious hit, but that's one they're trying to get out of the game. They made an emphasis. They don't want the peel back blocks, and cost the Bills there.
Allen had it tipped at the line of scrimmage. Incomplete, and we have a flag on the near side of the field. DeAndre Baker came close to picking that off. Let's check the marker.
Holding, defense, number 20. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's Janoris Jenkins. What's interesting about that, Trent, is hopping on this side of the field, completely away from the action on the far side.
Yeah, and that's where you get into the discussion with officials. Officials are, so you have the different holding calls and the pass interference calls, and does it have a direct impact on the play? We're going to see this is on the backside in the slot. gets that right hand up around the neck or the shoulder pad area, and that's always the big debate. Is it involved in the play? Is it away from the play? How much of an impact does it have?
Allen going to run it. Diving across midfield. And right at that first down marker.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just a little bit shy.
Josh Allen, 7 carries today for 21 yards. Not shy about tucking it in and running with it.
Well, a week ago had 10 carries, so he's working his average right now.
Second and short yardage. Frank Gore. Inside the 45 to the 44 and a Buffalo first down. Now, Sean McDermott would like nothing better than to reestablish a ground game here and take a little time off the clock and put another score on the board.
Exactly. With a one-score game right now, get another first down, get yourselves into at least the field goal range. Give yourself a chance to make this a 2-score game. But this is the first time the Bills have been in any kind of offensive rhythm here in the second half.
Give real quick to Isaiah McKenzie, and McKenzie brought down from behind by Marcus Golden. Clock continues to move. We have 9 minutes remaining in regulation. So it'll be 2nd and 6. And the Giants looking for one of those defensive stands. Allen. Tipped. The attempted interception made by Antoine Bethea. It'll be 3rd and 6.
That's 2 times now on this drive the ball's been hit and fluttered in the air, and Giants close to getting an interception.
Those of you just joining us, as you take a look at this tipped pass, the Giants got on the board first with an opening drive of 75 yards, and Saquon Barkley scoring the touchdown, but then 3 straight scores gave Buffalo a 21-7 lead at halftime, a scoreless third quarter, and then the Giants have come back to pull to within a touchdown here in the 4th. 3rd and 6. Allen runs out of trouble, throwing. He's got his man inside the 25, and out of bounds is John Brown for a Buffalo first down. It's a nice job by Josh Allen.
This is all on Josh Allen. Watch the pressure now that's going to be applied. They bring secondary pressure. He freezes the defensive end and gets to the outside. That's what allows him to buy time. What gives Brown the opportunity to get separation. Incredibly athletic play by Josh Allen to buy time, get outside the pocket, and then the accurate throw while on the run.
17-yard pickup. John Brown, 7 catches for 72 yards. And we'll take time with 8:34 to play here in regulation.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. Amazon Prime. One-day delivery on millions of items with Prime. And by Microsoft Surface.
8 minutes, 14 seconds to play here in the 4th quarter. As we mentioned, the Giants took the opening kickoff, drove 75 yards for a touchdown. Buffalo came back to score 3 TDs to lead it at halftime. Josh Allen with 253 passing yards. Eli with 166. And Devin Singletary in the backfield now with Allen on first down at the Giants' 23. The pitch for Singletary. Left side, 10, 5, and forced out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal.
So they're going to come in motion. Watch, he fakes the handoff here. He spins out, and then he's going to pitch it this way. They're all of a sudden going to get out in front to get out in space. It's basically just a misdirection sweep. So you're trying to cause confusion in the interior part by the flow of the linebackers. The line gets out in front, seals the edge. Singletary with great vision and speed to get out there. But it was that initial misdirection that caused confusion by the linebackers in the middle. Some were going one way, some going the other. They ended up running into each other, and that allowed Singletary to get to the edge.
Gore going nowhere. Lassoed in the backfield by B.J. Hill. Singletary has already scored his first career NFL touchdown today.
Well, and this is the response that the Bills were looking for after the Giants has put together a scoring drive to go and make this a one-score game. Bills didn't do much, if anything, the entire third quarter, now putting together a long drive, trying to get it in the end zone for a touchdown.
2nd and goal. Allen. End zone. Diving incomplete. Intended for Zay Jones. It'll be 3rd and goal. You see Frank Gore in the backfield, Trent. It's hard to believe, but all last season, he did not have a rushing touchdown. The entire 2018 season.
That is hard to believe. And now with the Buffalo Bills, he and Singletary rotating. They tried a hard play fake. They tried catching the Giants. They had them in man-to-man coverage, just both receivers, Brown doing one way, Jones doing the other.
3rd and goal. Allen. Backpedaling. On the move. Still looking, and throws it away. Sean McDermott's going to say great decision.
Well, the Bills had 1st and goal inside the 5 and have to come away with a field goal attempt. This is a win for the Giants defense, forcing them into a field goal attempt. And the real opportunity was the missed opportunity on 2nd down. That time not much for Josh Allen in terms of a progression or in terms of finding an open receiver.
Hauschka has never missed a field goal attempt in his career here in MetLife Stadium. And he doesn't miss that one. And there's a penalty marker. Officials will talk about it, and Sean Smith will give us the verdict.
Personal foul, defense number 97. Unnecessary roughness on a defenseless player, blow to the head of the center. Half the distance penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Wow, Dexter Lawrence.
He's going to be lined up right here, and here's the center. The center is protected when their head is down in special teams. So on punts and field goals, they're calling him with contact on the center with his head down. That's a huge penalty. Instead of being a 10-point game, now all of a sudden the Bills have an opportunity here with 1st and goal from the 2.
So the Bills now at the 2. Frank Gore in the backfield along with DeMarco. They'll give it to Gore. And Gore fights his way to the 1. 2nd and goal. Clock keeps ticking, coming up on 6:25 to play here in the 4th quarter.
Well, and that's the other thing, Greg. If they end up scoring here, 2-possession game, all this is taking more time off. So in terms of the Giants having an opportunity to get 2 scoring drives, that penalty is valuable in terms of time as well.
Gore still the deep man in the backfield. Gore again, left side to the end zone for the touchdown. The number 4 all-time rusher in the National Football League finds the end zone.
I would say he wasn't going to be denied on that one. He just lowered his head and
you know, not just beloved by the Bills players, but everywhere he's played.
You know, that's his first rushing touchdown. You mentioned it just a few minutes ago, since 2017. So
10 years in San Francisco, 3 in Indianapolis, last season in Miami, his first in Buffalo. Hauschka. And the kick is good. A costly and unnecessary penalty by the Giants gives the Bills a chance for the touchdown, and they convert. It's 28-14 Buffalo. Welcome back. We've been having a discussion about that penalty called on Dexter Lawrence, and we bring in Gene Steratore. Gene, what did you see?
You know, by the rule now, the snapper is a defenseless player, so technically he is in a defensive posture. What I question a little is the level of severity of contact that is made to this player.
And that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you about it, Gene, because I know what the rule is. I know you're trying to protect that defenseless player with his head down, but it didn't appear that Dexter Lawrence tried driving into his back. He really was just making a position and barely put his hands on. So that just seemed like a touchy call to me.
Agree, Trent. And when he does, he kind of moves laterally, stops, and then just jumps straight up in the air. So he's not driving that center back into the offensive backfield either.
All right, Gene, thank you much. This kickoff is going to sail into and through the end zone for a touchback, and the Giants will start at their own 25-yard line. They're down 2 touchdowns with 5:53 to play here in regulation.
Well, and that was a huge game changer of a call. Instead of a 10-point game and another, minute and a half of time on the board here, now the Bills were able to convert it for a touchdown and take even more time off the clock.
It would be the first time the Bills have started a season 2-0 with both their first 2 wins coming on the road. Manning, and we got another flag.
Neutral zone infraction, defense number 91, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
So they'll give the Giants 5 yards, and we go down to Melanie.
Well, Greg, Trent mentioned this. I just walked from the Giants sideline to the Bills sideline. The Giants are over there baking in the sun. The Bills sitting comfortably over here in the shade with a nice breeze. It is a significant difference in temperature. You'd have to think a bit of an advantage for Buffalo.
Melanie, any question where you want to watch the rest of the game?
I'm over here in the shade, nice and comfortable, Greg.
1st and 5. Manning going to go deep and overthrows everybody. He hit Benny Fowler down there. It'll be 2nd and 5. Eli Manning started the day without Sterling Shepard and has lost Corey Latimer to an injury in this game.
Well, and think about the way he started the day. Started off 1 of 7, really struggling offensively. That first touchdown drive was all runs. And since then, he's 20 of 27, so they've gotten into a little bit of a rhythm. That's really the first shot, though, he's taken downfield.
They'll give it to Barkley. And Barkley across the 40 to about the 42-yard line. Nice run, but the clock continues to tick. Coming up on 5.5 to play. Barkley now over 107 yards on 18 carries.
Well, considering he had 4 carries for 55 yards on the opening drive, the Bills' defense has definitely made it much harder for him.
Manning directing traffic and throws it away on the sideline. 5:14 now on the clock. Saquon Barkley, the first New York Giant to begin a season with 2 straight 100-yard rushing games since Rob Carpenter back in 1983. Where were you in 1983?
1983?
Probably
8th grade?
Probably in some disco.
8th grade?
Manning tipped again. He's had a bunch of those today.
He has had a bunch, and unfortunately for him, one was intercepted earlier in the day. Once again, it's Harrison Phillips getting his hands up.
So it'll be 3rd and 10.
Well, considering you're down 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes to go, I would think this is 4-down territory. So get any kind of completion you can to get some positive yards.
Almost intercepted at midfield by Tremaine Edmonds. That slant has worked pretty well for Manning today, but
Edmonds was already thinking about what kind of celebration he was going to do in the end zone. He thought he had a pick 6 all the way. Most receivers, I say, catch it with your hands, not your body. With a linebacker, catch it with your body, not your hands. Don't trust it that much.
4th and 10. Manning trying to keep New York hopes alive here. This side of the field incomplete. TJ Jones looked like he went a little deeper, didn't turn fast enough.
Well, and that's a matter of reps. They just brought Jones up. I know he was around in the preseason, but they just brought him, activated him, and he's had some big impact plays today in terms of some catches that he had the big touchdown catch in the back of the end zone, but with the pocket collapsing and Eli realizing, okay, listen, I got to get rid of the ball, he's just going to lay it to the spot towards the boundary that he thought gave him the best chance. And once again, it's just reps, and they really haven't had much of an opportunity just because of the injuries and of course the suspension to Golden Tate. So
and now the New York Giants staring an 0-2 start right in the face. Here's Gore. Nowhere to go there. Both teams with all 3 of their timeouts. And we get a timeout here as the Giants stop the clock at 4:50. Well, nothing makes a league perk up and take notice like a 2-0 start, Trent.
Well, there were high expectations for this team coming in. The defense returned 10 of 11 starters, so there were high expectations on that side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, it's a complete redo. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen are new. Both running backs, Gore and Singletary, are new. All 4 of the tight ends that are on the roster are new. Wide receiver, Cole Beasley and John Brown, those are new. As you take a look at their schedule coming up.
Yeah, they're home to Cincinnati, home to New England, and then travel to Tennessee. 2nd and 9. And a penalty marker on this side.
False start, offense number 77. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
That penalty on the Secchi. Boy, after this 2-0 start on the road, look at all the home games coming up for these Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that's a big advantage, especially when you consider you started out on the road both games, but they're just down the road a little bit from Buffalo when you consider both games have been here at MetLife Stadium.
You know, Buffalo could sail into their bye week flying high. Singletary shakes a tackler and looks like he limped out of bounds. Yep, and limping back. He's going to come all the way across the field to the Buffalo bench.
Yeah, you can't be excited about that if you're a Bills fan or a Bills coach. Let's take a look at it.
And now he's just gone to the turf. Yeah, came up limping, went out of bounds on his own, and is being looked at now down on the field by the medical personnel.
Well, the way they're looking at that, looks like the left hamstring. I thought almost it was an ankle when the defender was trying to wrap him up, but.
Devin Singletary, 3rd round draft pick out of Florida. Started his career last week with 4 carries for 70 yards, and all 4 of them were at least for 12 yards. He averaged 17.5 yards a carry last week.
Well, and got his first touchdown today.
Yeah. The Bills will hope it is not too serious. Meanwhile, they're looking at a 3rd and 11, and the Giants, without question, need a stop here. Gore in the backfield. Gore. And he's wrapped up at about the 40-yard line. And here comes a late flag after that hit. That's Ogletree. And that looked like a penalty of frustration, Trent.
Yes, that was Ogletree on Dawson Knox.
There's no foul on the play. Results 4th down.
Wow. I imagine there's no harm on that play, but that's definitely extracurricular.
There's a little extra, but there's also an NBA level flop there too. So that's that was a good extension with the arms and trying to draw the flag, which he did. He drew the flag, but after further discussion, they decided it wasn't, I guess, flagrant enough.
Oh. How many times were you in on a flop discussion in practice?
It was.
Oh, come on, it's got to come up.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does, especially in a game. You're in this where one team's frustrated because they know they're headed towards an 0-2 start to their season, and those can boil over.
Reminder, coming up after the game, the State Farm post-game show. JB and Phil and Nate and Boomer and the coach. Scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm post-game show. Head coach Pat Shurmur of the Giants looking at an 0-2 start. We mentioned earlier the Giants got off 1-7 at the beginning of the season last year, finished 5-11 and dead last in the NFC East. Manning on the roll, throwing it down the sideline and wide open. The catch is made in the 45-yard line. That was Evan Ingram.
Well, not very often do you see a ball float in the air that long and somebody defensively not get over there, but
no one around.
That just tells you how open Ingram was.
Manning over the middle. There's Ingram again. And not much on the play, maybe a yard or two at most. Matt Milano making the tackle. And we go under 4 minutes to play.
Giants still have one timeout in their pocket, but down by 2 scores. You want to hang on to that as long as you can.
Rocco.
And now we get a stop and a timeout called by Buffalo. So Buffalo uses the first of its 3 remaining timeouts. Let's go back to that pass.
They're only rushing 4, dropping 7, and as Eli gets outside the pocket, you'll see Ingram on that right sideline. 2 safeties going deep.
And rightly so.
And just found a void in there, but yeah, usually when the ball hangs in the air that long, that good things aren't happening, but enough separation as we look at the career day Ingram had last week against the Cowboys, and now he's up to 5 catches for 40 yards on the day, but really they've kept him in check prior to this drive.
Manning on 2nd and 8. Got rid of it just as he was hit. And that is an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd and 8.
Only rushing 4, but nobody open as you see Rimmer's getting knocked back into Eli, and as he's bouncing around, just had to try and get rid of the ball, not taking the sack.
Situations like this, what a luxury that is to be able to get that kind of pressure with just a 4-man rush.
And that's where they've had most of their success over the last couple seasons, is they're able to get pressure with 4 people, and that gives you a huge advantage in your pass defense, and that's really why they're number 1 in pass defense since the start of 2018.
Manning going deep and intercepted inside the 5-yard line by Jordan Poyer.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing for Eli Manning. When you're down 2 scores, it's this late in the game, you got to take some shots, even though you know it's a really good chance that it's going to get intercepted. That's just the sacrifice of numbers is what you have to do, is try and put a ball out that you hope your player can try and get to and make a play on. And
boy, that grab by Poyer is wide receiver stuff, isn't it?
That's a heck of a catch. As we take a replay or a review from different angles, you can see that ball never comes into contact with the ground. Poyer does a good job of securing it with his hands, securing it to his body.
And a little movement here prior to the Bills starting to make an attempt at running this clock out.
Distance penalty remains first down.
Lee Smith guilty of the early move. The Giants, what are they looking at down the road? They're at Tampa Bay next week before coming back home to play Washington and the Minnesota Vikings. On first and 11, that's Gore. Look at what the Giants are facing. Tampa Bay team that secured its first win on Thursday night.
In a home game. Division opponent in Washington.
As a player, you can never look at the schedule and go, oh, well, this is an easy one. This is an easy one.
Oh, you never can.
No.
You never can, because you look at the schedule when it comes out and you start to try and piece together, and it never plays out the way where you think, one team's going to be a certain way, and just the way injuries unfold, free agency unfolds, how it all comes together.
I just don't think
that's why that attitude. I know it's boring, and you hear coaches and players talk about all the play, 1 week at a time, and this is, we're just focused on the next opponent. I mean, that's the reality of what you have to do.
Look at Gore fighting for yardage. So you guys, I'm talking about players, say it all the time. It's hard to win in the National Football League.
It is.
It's hard.
It is. And when there's only 16 of them, everyone's important.
Those of you who just joined us here at MetLife Stadium, Buffalo holding on to a 2-touchdown lead as we come up on 3 minutes to play in regulation. Giants jumped off to a quick 7-0 lead on a 75-yard opening drive. Saquon Barkley scoring the touchdown, but then 3 consecutive touchdowns before halftime gave the Bills a 21-7 lead at the break. Gore. And not much there as we come up on 2.5. Take a look at some of the things that have happened today. Boy, Saquon Barkley started like a house of fire, Brent.
The opening drive, Saquon Barkley had 4 carries for 55 yards and the touchdown. Then the next 3 possessions the Bills got up 21-7. And you saw the Giants were able to close it to 21-14 before the Bills put together an impressive drive going down the length of the field. A key penalty on a field goal attempt that would have kept this a 10-point game was overturned because of a penalty on the field goal attempt, and gave them an automatic first down, and the Bills were able to convert that into a touchdown to get us to the score we're at right now.
Bodes well for a nice flight home for the Buffalo Bills.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by FanDuel. This season, there's more ways to win on FanDuel.
Welcome back, everyone. 2 minutes on the clock. Buffalo with the ball and a 28-14 lead. And Gore pounding away up the middle. Be about a yard and a half shy of a first down. And the clock continues to move, coming up on 1:45.
Well, if they get this first down, they can take a knee. Giants out of timeouts.
So these Bills come in here, Trent, and you know they've got a good defense, and they showed a little offense to go along with it today.
Well, Josh Allen's play has been outstanding. 19 of 30, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, over 200 yards in the first half. He's really been held in check here the second half, but he spread the football around great. 8 different receivers as Gore comes up short of the first down. 8 different receivers, but when you look at it, they're nearly 400 yards of offense and didn't do a lot in the second half because they didn't need to do a lot in the second half. They kind of pulled back a little bit because they know how good of a defense they have. And the defense came up big when they needed them.
By the way, Devin Singletary, who left the game with an apparent hamstring injury, that's been confirmed to us. He did hurt his hamstring. He's standing on the sideline, and he will not return to this game. T.J. Jones back deep for the punt. High and not very deep. And Jones gathers it in and steps out of bounds just as he crosses his own 45-yard line. 27 seconds on the clock. And the Bills are going to move to 2-0 and keep pace with the New England Patriots in the AFC East.
They have them in a couple weeks. So
they do, week 4. Manning calling the signals with the Bills very deep in the secondary. Ingram slips and falls down before he can reach midfield, and the clock continues to move. MetLife Stadium is pretty much emptied out by now. Manning to the sideline and out of bounds at the 40 is number 81, Russell Shepard. So 3 seconds on the clock. And there are some Buffalo Bills faithful who have made the trip here.
2 weeks in a row.
That's right.
Coming
Maybe
out of
they
here.
Stayed.
Exactly.
Maybe they stayed.
Maybe they did. They got coming on the road 2 weeks in a row, opening up back-to-back wins.
Manning to T.J. Jones, and Jones flipped up at the 15-yard line, falls forward, and that'll do it. The Bills on consecutive weekends here in MetLife Stadium ring up victories over the New York Jets last week and the New York Giants today. Our final score, Buffalo 28, the Giants 14. Up next, State Farm post-game show for Trent Green and Melanie Collins and all of us. CBS, Greg Gumbel saying so long from East Rutherford. We'll take you back to New York for all of the scores and the highlights on this busy Week 2 Sunday right after this.